Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a review for you of EA's new game Rocket Arena, and I do want to let you know in the beginning of the video that it is sponsored by EA. Rocket Arena is crossplay and it's live today, so you can play it on PC, Xbox One, and PS4 if you click the link down there below in the description to download. Of note, PC will do both Steam and Origin, and crossplay is extremely fair in a projectile-based game. Being a hit scan, Twitch aim god doesn't really help you when you have to aim all of your shots. And finally, I'm streaming it literally right now on Twitch. So if you're watching this video and you'd rather see me on Twitch, you can click the link down there below, or probably click after you're done watching the video and come hang out for my launch day stream. And now that that's out of the way, let's hop into the proper review. Rocket Arena is a deceptively deep third-person Quake-like shooter, but it seems to be built for a younger audience. Aesthetically, as soon as you look at this game, a lot of you are going to say kiddie game, a lot of you are going to say Overwatch, and a lot of you are going to say Fortnite, and that's definitely a fair comparison. Most of the characters are noticeably younger than average for gaming. There's no blood, death, gore, or anything like that. As a matter of fact, when you get blown up by rockets, you just lose, and your health goes down, you just lose some of your control and get bounced off the map and have to get reset. So you're never actually dying or getting hurt, you're just kind of getting booped off the map, and it's overall a very wholesome environment to play in that I think would be great for kids, but don't let that fool you into thinking that this is a baby game built for babies and it's going to be boring, because that is absolutely not true. The gameplay is essentially a third-person shooter where everybody has rockets. Your primary weapon for every character in every class is some kind of rocket. All of these rockets have a projectile travel time, a splash damage. Some of them have arcs or unusual movement effects built into them. Each class that you would pick has a different primary rocket and a different ability, and this is where you really distinguish. There are some classes that have big, giant, slow rockets that deal very little damage, sniper rockets that don't deal a ton of damage but are precise, fast firing, slow firing, spam firing, ones that arc, ones that bounce, ones that kind of go in little strange directions, and all the classes have different abilities that are supposed to complement that particular class as well. Most of them, I will admit, are lethal or knockbacks or bounces, but some of them are pure utility classes like safety bubbles or teleports and things like that. And in general, when you look at the balance of this, what you'll see is that the less lethal rockets are usually faster and simpler to use, and the more lethal rockets tend to be bigger, slower, and harder to use. And some of these classes are primarily designed around their abilities providing benefits to the team instead of just pure lethality. So for certain game modes and certain objectives, some of the characters are going to be much more popular because you can control what I would call hard points. It's rocket grab, or, escape with the flag, or whatever it is that you need to do with those abilities. One neat addition to this game that I kind of like is that every character has a dodge button, which on PC at least was default by Q as one of your quick abilities. And the dodge button will usually make you kind of spin around and suck in your fat, stick your arms up, and kind of you're matrixing all the rockets. But what it does is it very temporarily makes you invulnerable to being hit by rockets. They will pass through you, and I mean very temporarily as in half a second, so you really have to time this. It's almost like a Genji reflect in Overwatch. And if you're stunned or suffering from some kind of status effect, usually spinning will cure that and you get your mobility back. But it does have a long cooldown, so you can't just sit there and spam this all the time. Your health will regenerate basically Halo style. If you take enough damage, you get one shot and they'll hit you and knock you out of the arena like Super Smash Brothers. But if you can avoid taking damage for long enough, then your health will regenerate or your damage will go back down to 0, so it's harder to bounce you out. You can get bounced out of the arena even at almost, full health, because people can push you out. And interestingly, if you get pushed really far and you're falling, you can rocket wall climb by shooting the wall in front of you down and push yourself back up. This is going to kind of depend on what type of rocket you have for your primary, and that takes me into the discussion about mobility in this game. You can triple jump in Rocket Arena. Rocket Arena literally has triple jumps, which is kind of crazy. You have mid-air control. A lot of characters have some kind of movement associated with their ability. There's rocket jumps, where you look straight down at the ground, shoot, and your rocket propels you up in the air. And rocket wall climbs, where you can kind of climb a wall by looking down and shooting kind of in front of you and pushing yourself up. I find it refreshing that the rocket jump and rocket wall climbs do not deal damage. Back when I used to play Unreal Championship, which we'll talk about in a totally different video sometime, I avoided the rocket jumping strategies because I didn't like dealing damage to myself. I preferred to have the full health. So in this game, when you do your own rocket jumps and rocket climbs, you don't take damage. Now, wall climbs are interesting because you basically need to put your face in a wall, look straight down, and start shooting to kind of boop yourself on up. And this, more than almost anything else in the game, is going to be limited by the type of primary rocket that you have. Some people have rockets that fire indefinitely, some have them that fire slow, some have them that fire quickly. Most of the characters require reload. You have a certain rocket magazine size depending on your class, which means you have a certain finite amount of wall climb height, unless you're playing the big fat pirate boy and he can just kind of spam indefinitely because his class is just designed for something totally different. So at the end of the day, you have an extremely high mobility game. It's very bouncy. People are flying, they're dashing, they're teleporting, they're rocket jumping. There's like little bouncers and teleporters and all sorts of goofy like moving things on the map for you to bounce around on. It's that kind of game. It's a 3D movement game. And I will tell you that when you play it, I don't think that being super high in the air is always the best strategy. There are some classes that have rockets that are more like regular bullets and they'll just pepper you right out of the air. And also you can't necessarily control what you're doing super well up there. So even people that have good predicting skills with their projectiles are just going to hammer you. The game is currently only 3v3, but don't worry, that's plenty. Even with 3v3, you will find just an endless amount of stuff to shoot at and survive. The maps are not particularly big, and I don't even know if I'd really want to see it 4v4. It might get a little bit crazy. So at the end of all this, one of the things that I want to emphasize about Rocket Arena is that the core game itself is very polished. It's very robust and surprisingly deep. These characters with their rockets and abilities aren't poorly thought out or boring or weird. They're actually quite well balanced. The abilities make sense for the classes and how they're supposed to play. They combo off of each other. You can definitely set up Overwatch style combos with the different characters. They have counterplay, so some of them you can dodge, some you can reflect, some you can shoot this side, that angle, just wait, and then you hammer them. They all have something going on that makes them fun and intuitive, and there's a surprising amount of depth to this game, which I genuinely enjoyed. I was kind of afraid when I first saw it because I thought it was like a little kiddie game and this was going to be like, League of Legends for babies or something, and I was not going to enjoy this, but it had enough depth to it to keep me happy, and I think that the game can be very competitive, and I think it definitely will be once we get ranked mode coming out. And I think that that's a great thing that kids get, that the new kids game is competitive. So it's clearly designed for a younger audience. And I get that. And I know that not all of you are going to take to that, but some people will. Some people like the lighthearted stuff or this kind of gameplay, and that's great. But if you're going to design a game for kids, it should be a competitive, robust, deep game like Fortnite or a few of the other ones that have come out, and not just some easy, baby, boring, hand-holding, here you go, here's your reward kind of thing. Because we need to train up the next generation of MLG tryhards. These sweats aren't going to make themselves. Everybody has to start somewhere, and this is a great place for younger gamers to start. And I think that EA wants this to be kind of like a new Rocket League, or maybe some kind of super long-term game like Apex. They've already got a battle pass planned, they've got new characters planned, new maps, in-game events, unlocks, tons of unlocks, just stuff that goes on and on and on forever to keep you interested in playing for years to come. On that note, I think that the maps are made very well too. They're pretty fun, they're pretty intuitive. There's a lot of like launch pads and treadmills and little things and moving parts to these maps. They look good and they serve their purpose in this game. The aesthetic choices for this game are very good overall too. Lots of character detail, lots of good shading on the cel-shaded characters, lots of little details on the maps and animations, and you can see that there was some serious like polish and quality that went into it. Also into optimization. So I played on PC and it ran very smooth and had plenty of options for me to customize, which is not something that I can say about all PC games, especially ones that I get access to early. A lot of them kind of run horribly optimized, or not at all, but this one was very smooth, so I like that. It seems to be kind of optimized to run on like super low spec builds, so that almost anybody should be able to download and play this. On the download note, it's not a very big download. I think it was like 20 gigabytes or something, which isn't that crazy for a game. And again, I think that the design goal here is that EA wants it to be a very easy access kind of game that literally anyone can play. even if your gaming PC is a toaster from the Paleolithic era, it should still be able to run Rocket Arena decently. Overall, I was very happy with how this game turned out. It could have turned out a lot worse. It could have been a lot more kiddie. It could not have had the depth. It could have been a badly optimized game, but it was none of those things. This is a very solid game, and I think that some of you, if you check it out, will enjoy it, and I'd appreciate it if you click the link down there in the description below and check out this game, Rocket Arena. Drifter out.